All right, with Jeremy Moore, coach of the Midland Trail Patriots. First of all, Coach, just talk about your expectations entering the season. I know you told me that you've got a good nucleus. Just talk about your expectations for the season.
Make playoffs. That's always the expectation. That's the goal. We got a lot of good kids that I think we can make a run at. I know we're bumping up a class type deal and have to beef up the schedule a little bit, but I think we got a really good group of guys.
Last year, in the middle of the season, you had Gaten Gladwell was your quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
You made a change, I think, probably to get him out in space a little bit more. You changed quarterbacks. Thad Brown came in. Talk about the development of Thad Brown, a kid who came over into your program 2 years ago from Oak Hill.
Yeah, beginning of the year, like you said, Jaden was our quarterback, and in the Summers County game, Landon Signer hurt his shoulder. He was really one of the deep threats we had. To be honest with you, Jaden was probably our next best receiver, quarterback. So Thad really developed to where we could go ahead and jam him in there. He picked up the game really fast. I mean, obviously he had growing pains, but he did a great job. He led. He never got too down on himself. He's a real even keel guy. Not too high, not too low. But he stepped up, and he's really stepped up this offseason too.
What are your expectations for him having about half the season under his belt at the position going forward and try to get this team back in the playoffs?
I really want him to take the step forward instead of just being a game manager. I'd like for him to.
He was more of a manager.
Yeah, we didn't ask a whole lot of him just because he was new to the position. I don't think he played football for 2 years or something like that before he transferred over. So we didn't really ask him to do a ton, but we'd like to see him evolve as a field manager, maybe. Just the way he sees the field, the way he sees defense, instead of just doing what we tell him to do, but see it for himself.
What are his strengths? What are you seeing now in this first couple of weeks of practice leading into the season? What are you seeing as his strengths right now?
His number one strength is leadership. He commands the huddle. When we coach him up, we coach him hard. It's not a country club type deal. We hold him accountable, and he learns really fast. We only have to tell him once to fix something. He's a good athlete. He plays basketball, plays baseball, and he's a good athlete. But he's really learning how to play the quarterback position.
Trail, and you know this from playing at Fayetteville. Trail's always kind of been a perennial in there. Fayetteville was always a perennial in the playoffs. What do you have that makes you think that this is the year you can get into the playoffs again?
Just the way that senior group leads. Last year, I think we had 20 sophomores on our team. Now there's 20 juniors. So maturity will help you out a ton. So I think that's what will get us over the hump. We've always been athletic. We just have to reach a maturity level to handle success and to handle failure.
Who are some of your backs? I think you've got some guys back in that backfield. Some guys who carried the rock for you for a while. What's the backfield situation look like?
Starting tailback is Caden LaFew. He came in last season when Jaden Root got hurt. Jaden Root is still out this season with a wrist injury. So Caden LaFew will be our feature back. He came in, I think, against Greenbrier West, did really well. And then Pocahontas, I think he ran for 200 yards. He had a great game. And then Will McGraw. Will McGraw's been the 4-year starter, steadfast, steady Eddie. He does everything we ask him to do. He's hard-nosed. It's not flashy. He's not going to make Sports Center top 10, but he plays football the way the game is made to be played. He's probably one of the best pure football players we've had here.
What impressed you about LaFew? I mean, like you said, he came in there, kind of replaced the guy that you were counting on, and he did the job. It seems to be that always kind of happens at Trail. What impressed you about him? He's a guy that's played for a couple of years.
Yeah. He's always been super athletic. He's one of those kids. He runs triathlons. He doesn't get tired. He's one of those guys that goes. And to be honest with you, we really didn't know how to coach him or where to put him.
He really competes in triathlon?
Yeah, I think he did the Captain Thurman Challenge, if I'm not mistaken. Or not Captain Thurman, the Thurman Triathlon.
Right.
Sorry, but he
used to be the Captain Thurman.
Yeah. Yeah. We put him at receiver beginning part of the year just because he was so fast. We were running on jet sweeps and stuff like that. He did a great job, doing that. But when Jaden went down, he's like, "Let me play tailback." We're like, "Okay," and we handed him the ball, and he was just gone. We've had to slow him down on certain aspects. You can't go full speed all the time. You got to get the handoff first type deal. But energy and effort will never be an issue with him.
And then Will McGraw's a guy that, like you said, he's been there.
Mm-hmm.
He's been playing for you since his freshman
Yeah.
year. This program. What you said a little bit about him there. I think he can play a multitude of positions too,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
What's a guy like that? How is he important on a football team?
Because he's so selfless. The younger guys see that guy that's playing fullback, tailback. He could play tight end. To be honest with you, he could probably be a starting guard for us right now. To be honest with you, he plays every position we ask him to do. Doesn't complain. Doesn't get down. When we coach him hard, he is a very good role model for the younger kids. So he's one of those kids you want everybody to emulate.
Your line, always some good linemen up here. What's the line look like this year? I think Bowman a year ago was
last year,
the All-State, ended up on the All-State team where he should have been. What about the line this year?
Yeah, it's tough to fill that hole, with John. But we have no seniors on the line right now, so we're pretty young. It's
Yeah, a blessing and a curse.
Yeah, it is. For our tailbacks, yeah, absolutely. But no, we've got some. Greg Kramer, he's been a good leader. He was a sophomore last year, and we've really asked him to be that guy to step up. And then Gage Johnson stepped in. We ran him at tight end all during the season, and Gage we needed help. The offensive line were very thin, and Gage said he would come over to the offensive line, and he's dominated. Gage Johnson and Greg Kramer might be two of the better tackles I've ever coached in unison.
You mentioned the Summers County game. It was right around. It was the week before.
Mm-hmm.
You were set to play Wheeling Central, and you had to make the worst tragedy that you can face, probably as a coach, losing a player.
Yeah.
Just how has that gone for the team, and where are you guys with that? I don't think it ever goes away.
No, you don't. That's what we tell the guys. We don't want to harp on it and
Well, you said last year
dwell
you
on it.
try not to make excuses
Yeah.
about it, but let's face it, these are 14, 15, 16-year
I'm
kids.
a 40-year-old man, and I still have a hard time processing it. So I know these teenage kids still struggle with it. So we don't ever want to forget Damon. When you quit talking about him and quit honoring him, that's when you start forgetting about him. We are never going to do that as long as I'm here. But some tragedy, you can either dwell on it or you can help make you better. And I think Damon would wanted us to make it better. And this group is really unified. This is a very solid group. They've went through something that not many high school teams have to go through, thank goodness. But I think we'll come out on the better side of that.
You, on a brighter note, we do have turf coming in this year. I played on turf in this county at Valley years ago.
Mm-hmm.
We had turf in '77. Are you happy to have the turf?
Yeah, it was necessary here. We have so many sports that play, on our field. Middle school and high school both playing on the field. By the time October came around, it was a cow pasture. It was pretty rough, and it's not fair, for visiting teams to have to come in and to play on that. So yeah, it's definitely a blessing. It's been long overdue, but I'm glad we're finally getting it.
Coach, I appreciate your time as always, and good luck to the Patriots this season.
Thank you, buddy. Hail Trail.